Hi, welcome back to the channel. This is something a little bit different. What I'm going to do now is, it was a request of a few people on the back of the last video that we released, which was the Baird T18, this great big pre-war beast behind us. I've had a couple of people ask to see the video that we made of the T18 on the T18 itself. So without too much more yabbling, what I'm going to do, you're going to see the T18 video of us restoring the video on the T18 itself. So I hope you enjoy it. Hi, welcome back to the channel. Got something a bit special today. It's a very rare pre-war TV. This is a Baird 1938 T18, believed to be one of only two left anywhere in the world. So we've got quite a rare thing to work on. Now it's just the bare bones. The cabinet's not here. We've just got the chassis to work on. And of course, over the years, this set has been, worked on, looked at by various kind of collectors. The present owner, I think, has had it for sort of 25, 30 years. And over the time, various people have looked at it. But it's now in quite a sorry state. It is sort of working to a degree. We've got a problem with the CRT, but I've replaced that with another CRT that we've got from stock. You can see various things to say have been done to it. So without me yapping too much more, I'll just flip the camera around and you can have a look at the front. So here it is. From the front, you can see we've got the CRT here. It's a 12-inch CRT. It came here with a Brimar CRT in it, which was later, sort of from the 50s, I can work out. But this set only has about 5,000 volts for the EHT, and I think the other tube that the gentleman had fitted was struggling a little bit with that. We couldn't get a decent focus. So I'm bringing you into this video sort of halfway through what I've been doing with it, and I'll explain the reasons why. This is a mains EHT television set, and for those of you who don't know, they generate the high voltage that the tube needs via a transformer straight from the mains. So they were known as, probably not particularly PC now, but they were known as widow makers back in the day, because so many TV engineers unfortunately died, because you've only got to touch the wrong part and you don't get a second go at it. So when I was doing the initial sort of looking at it, I didn't want the disturbance of having a video camera in my hand. I just wanted to concentrate 100% on what I was doing. So that's why you're sort of bringing you in this far in. So where we are now, to say the CRT has been replaced. This is a 1949 Ferranti tube, but it only needs 5 kV for the final anode. So this machine generates about 4849. So we're very close to where it needs to be for this tube. As I take you around the side here, you can see it's a proper, beautiful thing from the 30s. I have just temporarily replaced this as the EHT lead that runs up to the neck of the tube. This wasn't covered originally, so you could have easily caught your fingers on that and I'd be smoking in my boots. So for now, this is just like, I'm using it while we're testing it, just a little bit added safety. And you can see that red wire comes all the way down there and just fits on the back of that great big valve rectifier. The mains EHT transformer is just hidden down in that hole there. These are called bleed resistors that someone's fitted at some point just to sort of bleed the EHT away fairly quickly. The one thing that is missing from this picture is just here across where these resistors are, there is a decent sized capacitor, 5,000 volt, I think it's 0.02 microfarad capacitor that will pack a punch at 5,000 volts, and that's pretty much what's going to finish you off, or it's going to probably stop your heart quite quickly. So I'm very careful when I'm working on these sets, and hence to say we've got to this point without me showing you too much else. It has been worked on. You can see some of these electrolytic capacitors up here have been restuffed really nicely. So the ones that are visible. There's a few sort of visible modern replacements. The things that are visible, the customers asked to get rid of those. We can sort of make it look a bit more original on the top. He's not overly fussed as to what goes on underneath. If you can't see it, he's not too worried about it, but we just want to try and make it as sort of nice looking on top as possible. The initial problem, we had a problem with the EHT. Sorry, not EHT, focus. We couldn't get very good focus, but I think that was partly down to the fact that the tube was 5 kV short where it needed to be. The original Brimar tube that was in here needed about 10,000 volts, and this, only generates around about 5. The gentleman had it did actually come with the original 1938 cathovisor tube, but that was as flat as a pancake. No emission left whatsoever, and even speaking to the gentleman in a pretty much darkened room, you could just make a picture on the screen. So it was well and truly knackered, so that one's long gone sadly. So we're left with this Frangie tube, which should work really well. A slight mod we're going to have to do. The original tube was a 2-volt heater. This one does need 4 volts. I've been running it for testing off a separate power supply, but there's 4 volts floating around on the set anyway, because most of the other valves in there are 4-volt valves. So we'll rob a bit of juice from the mains transformer to fire this up. There's also been a little bit of a modification to this. Is a new control that someone's fitted at some point, because the focus coil here obviously focuses the beam before it gets to the tube. Obviously this isn't the original tube, so things have been fiddled with, and as we are now, it needs a little bit more juice than is available as the set is at the moment. I think we might be able to squeak a bit more out of here and get this, because it wants around about sort of 80 volts to work, 80-90 volts thereabouts. It's only getting like sort of 40-50 volts from the actual set at the minute. But I think the I think the HT is a little low. So that's what I've been doing today. I've been replacing some of the electrolytic capacitors. You might be able to see under there, there's the old cardboard one which we've restuffed. So just do that. There's a cardboard condenser that we've restuffed. I haven't wired it in yet, so I've got to do that. And there is also a big 8 microfarads one on the top here. Now that's replaced, you can make out on there, August 1947. So if that was replaced, then it's done pretty well. But all these things are starting to get tired, and when we have got the picture on, we're getting a little bit of hum. So we can only assume, without doing too much sort of investigating with scopes, they're going to need replacing. So they'll be stuffed with new capacitors inside the old box. This is not really going to be, then again, for reasons I explained earlier, you're not going to see me working too much on this set. You might sort of get to see it come back once we've done some work on it. But as I said, I need to concentrate 110% on this. You don't get a second chance if you catch that mains EHT. So what I'm going to do now is put the phone away. I'm going to do a bit more work on it, and I'll bring you back when we hopefully get a first sort of picture on the screen. I've removed the vision receiver part of the set. We've got a separate sound and vision receiver on here, and you can see obviously this is designed to receive VHF, very high frequency. So it's beautifully built, all in this tiny, all in these cans, and you can see there's a valve here. There's another one pokes up here, and there's another one in this tin here. But it's beautiful, sort of copper clad. It's a really nice piece of sort of engineering from the late 30s. And again, this would have been cutting edge. There's these, as far as I'm aware, these were made by Bush for Baird. I think Baird actually manufactured them themselves. So and it looks very Bush-like in its construction. When you look at other sort of early Bush TVs. But this, as I said before, the customer's happy for components you're not going to see easily sort of being replaced underneath without being sort of repacked in. But these sort of things here, I'm going to sort of tidy up. Get rid of, because it doesn't look very nice when you're looking through the back, and you can see sort of modern polyester and plastic condensers and things poking up in the air. So we're going to tidy this all up a bit. It's a bit scruffy around here. Some of these wires have just been sort of tacked on, so we'll just get a bit of a tidy up. You can see there's it's like a Phillips electrolytic that's been sploshed in there. So just get a little bit of a tidy up. As I said before, I'm just going to sort of take you around and show you things on this unit. But there's not really much to see on this. But this will come off as well. Just let it lift up. Carefully take that way, and again, properly, tightly packed receiver. Let's get a bit more light in there for you. All these little micro capacitors, which are normally really good. We'll just obviously double check some of the resistor values. This one looks like it's got quite hot at one point, so let's make sure they haven't sort of been barbecuing for some reason. Yeah, it's a really nice thing to look at, and it's just a real treat to work on it. Just restuffing some of the old BI condensers. You can see this is the 0.1 mic 450 volt one. These come apart quite easily, really. This is just stuffed inside this cardboard tube, and a little couple of plugs just popped in the end of pitch. So what I'm going to do is just going to fit the two. I've got 2 of those to do. Another one I'm just going to start taking apart here. So once I've got the other condensers ready for that, I'll dig them out of the box and dig them in and out this one as well. This is a little more tightly packed, so I have to warm this one up a little bit, and then we'll get the new capacitors in there. So there's one of the capacitors, restuffed, and you can see it's been refilled. I don't use pitch, I use polyester resin that is dyed black. So to be fair, on the top there it looks pretty much like pitch. Focus in. So you shouldn't notice how much difference when it's all back in the set. And so there's another one just over there doing the same thing. So they're all just curing at the moment, and then we get them back in the set. So the restuffed capacitors are all cured and gone hard. They've had a quick coating of this clear lacquer as well, just to sort of seal everything back in. And you can see we've got the electrolytic back here, and there's a 0.1 and a 0.02 here. All give it a bit of a wipe over as well. Nothing too mad, so it doesn't want to look like it's brand new, but it's just nice to have things not looking, you know, bright yellow and plastic and that sort of stuff, where you can see it. So I'm really pleased that that's come up. They all test well. So what I'm going to do now is we'll get that bolted back onto the chassis, and then we'll move on to the actual power supply and RF deck. There's obviously the radio side as well. So the top deck, the top part of the receiver, which is the time bases and the vision receiver, have now been worked on. So as I say, we're now going to concentrate on the lower deck. Well, I've been right through the bottom deck, power deck, whatever they call it in the book. So that's now been recapped and a couple of resistors changed, a few things out of spec. We want this to be as reliable as possible. The main electrolytics that we've done underneath, as you can see on here, I mean, this is one that we took out. There's a clearly date stamped, upside down, sorry, here we are, October 47. So either that was replaced a long time ago, or it's been, you know, replaced reasonably recently, but it's just old stock that someone's popped in there. But anyway, they're all starting to show their age, unfortunately. While I've got you around this way, I thought I'd just quickly show you the mains EHT, which is a slightly sort of unusual feature that you don't get to see very often on TVs, mainly because it was, you know, deemed quite quickly quite dangerous. I mean, it's, you know, we're generating, as I said earlier on in the video, nearly 5,000 volts straight off a mains transformer. The problem with that is you need quite a large, because it's running at 50 hertz, you need quite a large smoothing capacitor. So I mean, this one here is 0.02. It's quite small for some of the mains EHT stuff I've looked at before. Like, I've had 0.1s before. I mean, that's going to pack one hell of a bang if you catch your arm on that. And you know, 9 out of 10, I think they were fairly fatal. You're not going to come back from it. It's going to stop your heart quite quickly. You will just notice behind there, you've got the bleed resistors. I've sort of hidden them behind the capacitor. They weren't there recently on the original circuit. There was no bleed resistors. So, you know, some poor unsuspecting that condenser would hold a charge for quite some time. So some, you know, poor unsuspecting engineer could go in there and get a belt off it, and it's a quite possibly fatal one. So we've got those fitted behind there, so it drags the EHT down within a few seconds. But we still, you know, when I'm testing it, I still go in there and physically make sure it's discharged with an earthen, you know, prod that I've got connected to the chassis. So do it 2 or 3 times, make sure. I've also got an EHT meter fitted to it, so I can see the EHT go up and down. Behind that, you can see the EHT rectifier, the HV-R2, I think this one is. It's probably good for, you know, 6, 7, 8 kV, thereabouts. But that's something you don't get to see very often. This capacitor at the front here, we've made this. This is the original one was paper and oil, and it has started to leak. There was oil coming out, so we've you know, I've built a new one of those in the style of the original, all in keeping with the same sort of wording and logo. It's probably a 1/4 of an inch longer than the original one, but anyway, we've fitted that in there. So it looks to be fair. I mean, it's all covered up with that. So that goes over there like that and sort of hides it away. So it gives you a little bit of protection, you know, when you're working on it. But yeah, it's up like that when I'm working. So the next thing I'm going to do is to get the actual the CRT and the high frequency of the VHF tuner section, which is all bolted on that top chassis, mounted back on this little crate we've got here. get that bolted on the top, get all the interconnecting leads reconnected. The only thing I've still got to do, we've got to grab some 4-volt supply for the tube, and I'm going to make sure everything's working first. I've been quite busy on it today, so I want to make sure that everything I've done so far is working. But so hopefully the next time you come back and have a look, the CRT will be in, and you should see a picture. Here's the underside of the Baird telly. I've just got some more light on it so you can see it just a bit better. You can see it's quite a large beast. This is an enormous mains transformer. It's absolutely massive. It must be almost 6 inches, but nearly 5. It's huge. In my hand is there. It's absolutely enormous, and that provides obviously all the heaters, the 4 volts. There's a 20-volt rail off for one of the valves as well. All the HT, and here's the transformer for the EHT, which is the extra high voltage one. There's a couple of you've got a couple of chokes. There's also the sound output transformer stuck up in that corner there. And you'll also notice we've got another transformer fitted in here now, because we've had to replace the CRTs. You may remember I mentioned earlier on. And the way this circuit was originally wired, I had a separate winding. That's what these 2 wires here that has been insulated up for now. It originally was powered, say, by that 2-volt AC. The way this telly works is a little bit different to how they sort of did things from then on. They actually, the brightness control there is the bias of the cathode, which is, you know, and if I don't put another, I can't use the 4 volts from the actual set. There's spare 4 volts flying around everywhere. I can quite easily get the 4 volts for the new tube from there, but the problem is I'm going to end up with a big sort of cathode to heater voltage difference, which isn't very good. So what I've had to do is fit another little transformer in there, which is going to provide the 4 volts for the tube. It's slightly on the wonk, and that's because I've made use of existing holes and not sort of drilling things into the chassis. So the advantage with this one, of course, is if in the future we have to replace the tube again, we can use it. It's got sort of there's 4 volts, 6. It goes all the way up, so you go up to 12 volts. So you've got plenty of scope to work with other tubes should we need to in the future. But that's why that transformer's been fitted. But yes, what I'm going to do now, I just want to show you under there. There's a lot of this wiring has been put back in. This is all rubber covered. Then again, it's underneath. As I said, the customer's not too worried what looks like underneath, provided it's all safe. You can see there's new electricity has been fitted in here where the old cans were, but left the cans on the top so they look fine from the top. So going to turn this back over, get the actual top deck fitted back on with the CRT, and then we're actually trying to get a picture on it. Well, I've got the 2 chassis put back together on the little caddy thing, the little frame. So I'm just going to stick some juice on so you guys can see where we are. I've brought it up slowly just to check the power, but I need to just make some adjustments to the actual screen. So let's see what happens as she warms up. As I said before, obviously I'm bringing you guys in a bit into this video. I have tested it before, so I know that things are working to a degree, but we've just got a problem with focus. Obviously I've changed a few bits around as well. It's poorly focused, and obviously there's a problem with the hole controls as well. What I'm going to do, obviously for obvious reasons, I'm not going to do it while I'm holding the phone because I don't want to grab hold of the wrong bit. I'll bring it back once we've focused it and put it all back in. So there she is, 1938 Baird T18 doing its stuff. There's a bit of a hum I can just still notice on the screen. I was assuming that was going to go when we did the smoothers, but that's going to obviously be some cathode leader on a valve possibly, or a wire laying close to somewhere it shouldn't. So we're going to look into that, but you can see that's a pretty good test card C for something that's, you know, from 1938. I think what I'm going to do, guys, this is pretty much, because it's not going back in the cabinet here, so we haven't got that, it's going to go back to the customer. I've got a little bit of fettling to do, just sort this hum out. I think that's pretty much where I'm going to leave this video, so thanks for watching, and I'll just leave you with a bit of a hummy test card C.